Perfect. So welcome everybody. My name is Andy Sokolovich. I'm the Vice President of Economic Development for the Clinton Regional Development Corporation, and I'm excited today to present a presenter who's doing some amazing things in workforce development. I go into companies all around the Clinton region and I have yet to find somebody say, I don't have a workforce issue, right? We all have workforce issues. Now, what are we doing to actually combat that workforce shortage? And Jennifer, somebody who's actually taking action. Through Avance, she's able to recruit individuals that come passionate, they're excited about working in the United States, specifically the Midwest. She's an economic development practitioner by trade. She did work in North Iowa, and she worked for Iowa Workforce Development. So she's very familiar with the workforce woes of some of our Midwest business partners. So I'm going to be quiet, and I'm going to let her present. I will be moving the slides. So Jennifer, just tell me when you'd like for me to go ahead and move forward. So I present to you Jennifer Andrade. Did I get that right? Andrade.
Right. If we're rolling the R's, it's Andrade, but we won't go there today.
I can't do that.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me to share information about what we're doing. As you mentioned, by trade, I spent some time in economic development and workforce development, marketing before that. So I kind of combined all of these things and felt like I wanted to address a problem that I heard year after year, meeting after meeting of, where do we find the people? Where are the people? And so I took the approach of we need a workforce attraction initiative. It's not just about, definitely we need skills matching and all of that. We need to work with our young people, but we need more population in this state. We have to grow our communities. And so this business model is designed not only to recruit talent to the state, to the Midwest, but we're all about retention. And that's why we do the things we do and how we do it. So I'm going to go ahead. We'll move to the next screen. I wanted you to take a look at a video. It is in Spanish, but we've got subtitles on it. He speaks fast, but hopefully you can get the gist of that.
Mi nombre es Luis Manuel Cortés López, vengo de Avance, Puerto Rico. Pues estaba cansado ya de los mismos trabajos, de que uno trabaja por el mínimo, teniendo muchas capacidades que explotar, ¿verdad? Muchos conocimientos. Decidí cambiar mi estilo de vida, buscar unas nuevas oportunidades y me vine para acá a superarme. Pues mirando así por internet, de verdad me encontré con el anuncio de la página de Avance, que se solicitaban empleados para una compañía de manufactura y me pareció que yo tenía, ¿verdad? Cumplía los requisitos para ese trabajo. Se veía que pagaban bien, había buenos beneficios, te daban, ¿verdad? Me dio la compañía muchos beneficios de relocalización, ellos mismos costeaban pasajes y todo, que era solamente tomar la decisión. Solicité información y enseguida me la brindaron y aquí estamos. Yo entiendo que, ¿verdad? He tenido la experiencia ya de compañeros que me he encontrado aquí en la compañía que estoy, que ya han venido por agencias también, pero ellos no han tenido los mismos beneficios que nosotros. Nosotros venimos, ¿verdad? Los que venimos por Avance, como yo, pues venimos para nuestro propio apartamento, tenemos nuestra privacidad, nuestro propio lugar, desde que llegamos. Ya yo tengo mi carro, menos una semana yo me hice de mi carro, que tengo mi independencia, me muevo solito, voy a los sitios. Avance tampoco me dejó solo, en todo momento yo, si no sabía hacer algún trámite del documento, ¿verdad? Me comunicaba con ellos y ellos me coordinaban citas y todo, me explicaban. No me han dejado solo, ha sido fácil. Yo diría que lo recomendaría porque todo lo que ellos te prometen, ellos te lo cumplen. Tienes ayuda, llegas para un trabajo, tu trabajo es permanente, no es un trabajo que va a ser temporero, que tú no sabes cuánto tiempo te va a durar. Que si vienes a trabajar y dar lo mejor de ti, tienes trabajo desde que llegas permanente a la compañía con oportunidades de crecimiento. Aquí para tener éxito lo que hace falta es estar motivado y tener el deseo de prosperar. Tú quieres cambiar tu estilo de vida por uno mejor, tener calidad de vida y superarte, tener metas, ponerte metas, porque aquí las oportunidades están, lo que hay que trabajar por ellas. Algo que nunca pensé poder hacer posible en Puerto Rico, pues que era como tener mi propia casa, pues aquí es lo que tengo de meta ahora. Ya yo tengo, ¿verdad? Con mi cuenta de banco y todo, me hice mi cheque de crédito y todo, me orientaron y me dijeron que ya menos ya un año ya yo puedo aplicar y ya soy candidato para poder comprar mi propia casa. Aquí la gente, tú llegas y se dan cuenta que tú eres puertorriqueño, ¿sabes? Te rápido te preguntan de dónde tú vienes, te buscan conversación, te roban de hablar español. Si saben casi una palabra, te la dicen, hola, y te lo dicen. Y tú rápido, mira, habla español, y habla español, se quedan como que, no, una marcesa. No, te asumen amable, te ayuda a la gente en la carretera, la forma en que la gente, ¿verdad? Obedece la ley de tránsito también, tu pase, no hay gente como que quitándote el carril. Hasta en eso tú te das cuenta de la tranquilidad que es estar aquí frente a, ¿verdad?, al estilo de vida de Puerto Rico. Que le gusta la tranquilidad, pues aquí hay tranquilidad. Y yo recomendaría Avance a todo aquel que esté buscando una oportunidad para mejorar su vida, tener un buen trabajo y, ¿verdad?, echar para adelante, cambiar, que esté dispuesto a hacer un cambio, porque esto es bien diferente de Puerto Rico, tienes que desear ese cambio. Todo aquel que quiera eso, pues le recomiendo Avance.
So that was Luis, one of I call them young men that decided to move forward and take the opportunity. And the interesting thing about him, he'd never been off the island of Puerto Rico. It's been his whole life there, 41 years old. And when he found out about this opportunity, he didn't hesitate a minute. He just jumped on it. And he's been doing so well. And his employer loves him. And he said, I don't know why I waited so long. Why did I wait so long to make the move to find this opportunity? But it's going well for him. And he's the type of candidate that we look for. So I wanted to talk a little bit more here about our Labor Force Challenge. As Andy said, I'm not going to tell you anything that you didn't know was going on in the state. And, we launched this business in first quarter of 2019. I was joking with Andy when we started about great time to launch the business right before a global pandemic. But it's been a wild ride over the last couple years, and we continue to grow and see successes in spite of the pandemic. We have continued to find good people and get them here for work. Is it?
Jennifer, just real quick, you work with companies throughout the Midwest, though, correct? Not just Iowa?
Right. We have started working in Illinois as well, and some of our Iowa companies are actually based in other Midwestern states, in South Dakota, and we've got people in Minnesota as well. So we are continuing to expand on that front. So, as we all know, these were the reasons why we started this business. I had gone to so many meetings where we were all talking about the problem. What were the solutions? I had seen some other agencies going this route. Recruitment from Puerto Rico is not a new concept. It's been going on. There's a lot of competition down there. A lot of companies recruiting. A lot of staffing agencies. So a lot of what people see down there is the temporary job offers, but I wanted to look at not just, how do we fill the temporary jobs, but really how do we grow our communities? How do we ensure we have a workforce, not just now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now? And so we had, baby boomers retiring. Our population in Iowa for sure has been stagnant for many years. We're one of the lowest in the nation as far as population growth as a state. We've had the brain drain, but we do have a strong regional economy. We have opportunities. And so this was why we looked at this model in particular, to find people who would be interested in a permanent move here, which is what we're marketing through these opportunities. So as I mentioned just a little bit about my background, I have been working with the Latino market for over 25 years now. I'm bilingual. I opened up the first new Iowan Center in North Iowa in 2007, so that was some of the background that led me to want to do this and feel really comfortable working with this population that has traditionally been known, to have very strong work ethic, very family-oriented, potentially just a very good fit for the Midwest lifestyle and our culture. Some of things that make us different, I would say, we are changing up how we go about recruiting people, especially from far away places like Puerto Rico, which is a little over 2,000 miles from the Midwest. How we get people hired, how we integrate them into our communities, the matching that we do. We are very much process improvement driven as well. What we started out doing early on when we launched the business, a lot of it was like, let's see how this works and we're always looking at how we can do things better. Each company is a little different as to their hiring process and how they want to work, but we have definitely found best practices to be able to take a look at what has gone well, what brings the good people in, what helps them feel comfortable in staying. And so part of what that is involved with these wraparound services that we would call it. We have a turnkey model. It starts with the marketing, partnering with our companies and communities to do the marketing, and working all the way through then the screening process, the hiring process. And then once the job offer happens, we're coordinating a move for people coming, a couple thousand miles away, sometimes with nothing but a suitcase full of summer clothes. So we're coordinating all of that, getting people into the community and then helping them settle in, helping them get established. And we don't just say goodbye, drop people off at the edge of town and say good luck to you. We are there to help them as they get started in the job, to help them with the community integration piece, the follow-up to make sure things are going well with the job, in the community with their families. So we are there all the way to support the process. Again, our long-term goal is retention and the communities. A lot of people have asked me why Puerto Rico. For me personally, I had friends that had moved to Iowa from Puerto Rico. The wife was a chemical engineer, and I got contacted by the local economic developer when they first moved and said, hey, I've got a new family in town. The wife's got a job. Her husband and son need help. So I was actually got to know them as I helped them get into job opportunities themselves. Husband is still at the same job, been for several years now. And as I got to know the family and they learned more about my background, what I did, they started sending me resumes. Then they sent me more resumes and more resumes, and I started seeing the talent that was available to us in Puerto Rico. They've been a territory of the U.S. For over 100 years. They are U.S. citizens, and can easily come here and work, but there are some differences as to what the work environment's like. And they've had an economy that has struggled for the last 15 years, I would say. It is rare in Puerto Rico to get a full-time permanent job with benefits. That is very rare. Most of it is contract work, short-term contracts. And so we had an opportunity there to find an educated workforce, skilled in some of the areas that were what we were needing in the Midwest. And so that's really why we started in Puerto Rico. And while most of our marketing is focused in Puerto Rico, not all of our candidates come from the island at this point. We have been building a referral network, and we have moved people here to the Midwest from Jersey, from Texas, from Wisconsin, Michigan, Kentucky. I mean, they are coming because they are hearing about Avance, hearing about the opportunities, and that we do things the way that they're supposed to be done. We're very authentic, we're very transparent in the process, and we follow through on what's been promised and what's been offered to them. So we are continuing to build those referrals and getting contacts from around the United States. Some of the top skill sets that we have seen over the past couple of years, a lot in manufacturing. We have found some great talent in manufacturing, warehouse, engineers. So that's definitely a great fit for us. Construction workers, the skilled trades, and healthcare. Healthcare is an area that we have started in as well, looking at nurses, medical laboratory scientists. We've brought people in for the food processing industry, quality control, mechanical operators, and we are also recruiting law enforcement. We have done testing in Puerto Rico for police officers and have someone going through the backgrounding process right now. Hopefully will be hired soon in North Iowa, in a community that has never had a bilingual police officer, so this will be their first one. What the workers are looking for, again, as I mentioned, in Puerto Rico, it's very rare these days to see a permanent full-time job. We have a whole generation now of workers there that have never experienced that. which is very unusual for us. And here in the Midwest, we're not used to seeing that. We're used to seeing an abundance of good jobs, good paying jobs. So the pay is low in Puerto Rico. I mean, some people are at that $7.25 minimum wage, $9 an hour. People with college degrees may not be making more than $9 or $12 an hour. So they are looking for that opportunity to be able to work in their career field that maybe they went to school for, or just to have a good stable job to be able to provide that financial stability for their family. They're looking for a good education system for their kids. There's been a lot of upheaval with the education system in Puerto Rico as well. And so, I always tell we're not a fit for everyone. Depending on the community, we try to do a lot of community matching. And so someone who's looking for the lifestyle of a large metro city, we are very transparent about our smaller rural communities and what that lifestyle is, because we want to find the right fits. But for many people who have come, who've said, this is exactly what I was looking for: the peace and quiet, the safety for their kids, for their family. So we have a lot to offer people, which kind of leads to my next point. It's going to pop up on the screen about why Iowa. Again, we did launch in Iowa. That is where I'm based. As we are continuing to expand our team, we have some of our team live in Iowa and some live in Puerto Rico, but we are rapidly expanding now into some of the other Midwestern states. But again, we look at our cost of living that we can offer here, the great economic opportunities that are available, our good education system. When I started this, I was looking, who would be looking for what we have to offer? Who are we a step up for? And I feel like I found a great market for us and a labor force that is looking for what we have. So when we do our screening, we always let people know that these are direct hire opportunities. We are not the employer and we're not a staffing agency. We're here to help facilitate. So as we work with our employers and these direct hire opportunities, we assist them along the way with the screening, the marketing for the positions. And then when we get to the screening, we're looking for those education or skill fits. We're looking in particular for people who are willing to make the commitment for a permanent move, finding out what their long-term goals are. We're not looking for people who are going to bounce in and bounce out of our communities and our companies. We're looking at language skills. There's a variety of fluency levels in English coming from the island. We've found great talent that are fully bilingual, and we find others that are more limited English. They are taught English growing up in Puerto Rico in the school system. But if you have not had the opportunity to practice it, it's kind of like all of us. We learn a foreign language in school. If you never use it beyond that, you don't remember too much of it. But they do have that basis in the education growing up. And so for some of our workforce, it's always based on what are the needs of the company. What level of fluency does the company need to have for their workforce and their workplace and the particular jobs? And so we screen for those skills. And those that come that need additional help, we get them set up with ESL classes right away. We also can do drug testing. We do the criminal background check in Puerto Rico, which is not included on your 50-state criminal background check here. It's actually police records from the Puerto Rico State Police. It's called a Carta de Buena Conducta, basically a good conduct letter. So we provide that. It shows whether they've ever had any criminal charges, criminal convictions, and then we can also do health screenings there. So your pre-employment health screenings. So remote hiring, we're doing everything remotely. We do make trips down there. Before the pandemic, we did have an office open there full-time. Right now it's part-time and we're doing a lot remotely as they've been on lockdown on the island. But we have our virtual hiring tools. We work with you to do video interviews like many companies are doing now anyway. And we use a lot of storyteller marketing. People need to be able to see the community, get a feel for it. They're not going to be able to come visit on a weekend. So we work with you to make sure we have great video to show what the company looks like. What does it look like inside the workplace? The community, what does our housing look like? Which is a very key point to the workers as well. They really want to know what our housing looks like. That's important. So we do a lot with video. Costs, there are two costs involved when you're looking at bringing workers. There's a placement fee that you would pay to Avance, and that is a fee that we charge once we've got a worker that has started work for you. So we take the risk on the front end of that and do the marketing and the screening of the candidates. And then once they've started work for you, we send you that invoice, and it's just a one-time fee. We keep our fees low. We're more interested in bringing more people rather than just a couple. So we do keep our fees low, and then the relocation assistance is the other cost that is involved. We are working with people that for the most part do not have a savings account, cannot afford to pay their own relocation here. And so we work with companies to develop what is needed. The packages vary. I would say they can range anywhere from maybe $3,500 up to $6,000, depending on what the company wants to do, if they want to cover an individual or they include the family members. Typically, it's just going to be those basics that are needed to help get someone here and get them into housing and get them set up. The benefits that we see, the community and company marketing, we're getting the message out to people who've never heard of our state, never heard of our communities, and have never heard of our companies. So we are reaching new markets to tell that story of what the opportunities are. We are finding motivated and committed candidates. Most companies I talk to will tell me that the biggest issue they have is with attendance, with the workforce they have now. And when they do have turnover, many times it's over attendance. There's a lack of commitment, I think, sometimes with some of our workforce. And so we're seeking those people out. We're also bringing families. We have brought many families, 4, 5, 6. So you've got a trailing spouse, a partner, girlfriend, boyfriend, you've got children that you're bringing into the local schools. So it is an economic boost for the community, for the region, to bring more than just, the company, the employer may be paying for one worker. You may end up with 2 or 3 workers in the community as a result. And then the family members that will follow. And as we continue to do this, again, like I said, just growing the communities, you build momentum. People that come and are happy are telling everyone that they know. They're telling their friends and family that they have found good things. And so it's starting that pipeline of people and of talent to the community. As I mentioned a little bit about the relocation, typical things that are covered in a relocation would be one-way airfare, which has been relatively inexpensive through the pandemic. We may see that go back up again, but it can range anywhere from $250 to $300 for a one-way airfare typically. Housing and furnishings, if they're coming from the island, again, it's not cost effective to try to bring furniture. It's very expensive to ship things back and forth. So we are looking to help people get set up, typically deposit first month's rent to get them into a place, and then, at the very minimum, a bed to sleep in so they're not sleeping on the floor, and, some kitchen items to get them started. Transportation, depending on the shift that they might be working, where they're going to be living, and in conjunction to where they're going to be working. We try to help people get into their own vehicle as quickly as possible, have their driver's license, and have reliable transportation to work. Family and children's needs, sometimes that might be if they're coming in January, they might need some winter clothing, boots, things like that to help them get started, because that's a huge outlay of money initially if you're having to buy a whole new winter wardrobe when you don't have one. And then our support network. We have an Avance Pay It Forward page. We have people volunteering to help, and we have set up a peer support network, which is also unique. So families who have already made the move here, we keep everyone connected through social media, and whenever possible, we do social events to get people together, introduce them so they can start making friends and understand that they're not alone. There have been others that have come before them are doing well, so we use that peer support network quite a bit. So as I mentioned, our business model is focused not just on the recruitment, but on the retention, and the steps that I've covered and how we go about doing things. We have a heart for people. We want to make sure we're finding the right people, making the right matches. We're all about transparency in our process and being authentic, because that is the way. It's a proven track record of how you're going to build a successful business model and a referral system. So as we continue to do that, we then videotape these success stories and people sharing their good news and how well they're doing. And we continue with our storyteller marketing then with those success stories, sharing them back out. I wanted to introduce you to just a few of the people that have come and here's a couple that have made comments just on, everyone remarks about how friendly we are in the Midwest, which, 9 times out of 10 people come and are just like, wow, people are not this friendly in Puerto Rico. People that greet you on the street, that wave at you, that say hi, or say hola, even if that's the only word they know in Spanish. So the friendliness of our communities has been great. The opportunity to actually work in your career field here. We've brought some young people that have college degrees and we're working in restaurants in Puerto Rico or in the hospitality industry, tourism, and because they had no opportunities to ever get their foot in a door in a company working in their field of education. And so this has been a great place to attract those young professionals that wanted to come and start a career here. I wanted to include a few of the employer comments as well. We do see quite a few veterans in Puerto Rico. Puerto Ricans have served in the military for many generations. And one young man, he was one of the first ones. He hounded me when we were in Puerto Rico at the time. He did not have a stable job and needed something better for his family. His employer absolutely loves him. They have just been so excited about him. They recently bought a home. They brought 2 children with them, had another one after they arrived. And so it's a family that has found great success here and made many friends in the community. Antonio's another one who came bilingual, did not have any good career opportunities. He was just really, making the minimum in Puerto Rico. But we have found he's such an excellent worker. He started out working in assembly just I think it's been about 3 months now, and the employer loves him so much they asked him to apply an interview for a team leader position that opened up, and all signs show that he's going to be starting in that new position soon. So we have found people to help grow in their career. Manny was one that came to us as well with some experience in the construction industry, but came with a company that continued to offer him opportunities to grow and advance his skills. They're very, very happy with him and the job that he's done for them. Jorge was another one who, again, was working in the restaurant industry and had a bachelor's degree in biotechnology. And we were able to help him get a job in a hospital laboratory. Got his college transcripts approved by the state lab manager. And he is loving his small community and loving his job and is found a girlfriend as well. Isaac brought his family and to work in a food manufacturing, food processing industry, has done tremendously well. And what we see is often what the employers will say, we wish we had more of him, we could clone him. Damaris was one. She had a lot of experience coming out of the pharmaceutical industry, which has been very big in Puerto Rico, and got a job working in a laboratory of food manufacturer. And just her knowledge and expertise has been a great addition to their laboratory staff. So really, that was what I wanted to share with you, just to kind of give you an overview of what we do, how we do it, and who we work with. Would love to take any questions that you have or comments at this time.
No questions?
I have a couple questions.
Good.
So could you provide for us, and I don't know why I'm going.
Oh, Jennifer, maybe mute yourself just while she's asking a question. There you go.
We'll see if that works. Do you have any people that we can reach out to that you've worked with before to see how it's working in their companies?
I do. I also, one thing I neglected to mention, we do happiness surveys, was what we've started doing. So we send out surveys to the companies to get feedback and have them basically give us a review on the candidates. And I'd be happy to share their surveys with you and how they rate on attendance, on work ethic, on production, all of those different things, their communication, how they work with their team.
Okay, good. From a standpoint of housing, is it typically, you had said someone was recently buying their own home, is it typically apartment housing they're looking for or rental houses?
So getting started, what we see often, and we try to get this information in advance before they come because it impacts not just the housing but transportation, is we see some people that come with no credit score at all. Some people come and do not have a great credit just because they've been in a very financially unstable job market. Other people have decent credit. So depending on where their credit sits when they come, and of course then they need to have some time on the job to be able to qualify, we often end up putting people either in apartments or rental homes, just renting to get started. We'd like to see, or they would like to see, more rent-to-own opportunities. But then when they are at a position where their credit is solid, they've got at least a year on the job, then they have those opportunities to purchase a home, and many would like to do that. When they're ready for that, they would like to purchase. But those same issues, it comes up, with being able to finance a car. If they need to buy a car, sometimes they're not able to purchase do any financing with a car when they first come because they're new. They've been in between jobs or whatever. They're new coming in, and so we work with them. In some cases, they're going to buy a $1,000 car just to have something to get started, to be able to get to work every day.
All right. So it sounds like you had shared a lot of the successes that companies have had. What's been some of the challenges that companies have faced that they've had to overcome to get to have some success?
A couple of the challenges have been, sometimes it's the timing. Sometimes we'll have the right person interested when the company's not ready to go. And sometimes when the company is ready to go, then we're trying to find that, especially if they're looking for a very, very specific skill set. They want them to be bilingual with a very specific skill set or experience level. Sometimes that can be a challenge, finding the right person at the right time. But again, that is on us. You're not paying a fee until we've actually found the person and they've started work for you. Another challenge has been, sometimes you've heard the saying, if mama ain't happy, nobody's happy. In the Puerto Rican culture, the women, we have a very important place in the family. And so sometimes we'll have the husband very excited about the opportunity and wants to make the move, and the wife says, no, I don't want to move right now. I don't want to leave my family, or I don't want to go there. And so we don't always have agreement and alignment when it comes to family decisions like that. So that is something that we really work hard to try to screen out in the beginning, to make sure that everybody's on board, that wife's happy, mom's happy, and that she wants to move forward with this as well. So that is a concern. Or if she's the trailing spouse also, once they agree to make the move, we want to make sure that she can get the job if she wants to work, that she's able to make friends in the community, and that their family needs are met so that he can stay happily working. I guess the other thing would be, again, just kind of on the language barriers. At times it presents a challenge. It can be a challenge in the interviewing stage. It can be a challenge once they've started work. If your workforce, if you don't have any diversity now in your workforce, that can be something, not just diversity in, different cultures, different races, but then the language, different languages. So if you've never had that experience before, we're working with a company now that really had never had a Spanish-speaking workforce before. And so just had another meeting with them yesterday. We had brought 13 for them. We're bringing another 10 now. That is something that they're continuing to look at. They're very happy with the program. They want to continue down this road. They told me they want to be the employer of choice for a Spanish-speaking workforce, but it is, how can they internally prepare for that? What do we need to do to make sure that their supervisors, their leadership is culturally aware, that we're addressing the language barriers? Those are things that we work through, but we have conversations around that, and we do a lot of planning before we ever start work on a recruitment, because we want to make sure that we have alignment in what we're trying to accomplish, who's going to be the right fit. So those are some of the challenges. And of course, our winters, our lovely winters.
All right.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Any additional questions? Jonathan.
Yeah, I have a few questions. Out of all the candidates that you've placed within the program, how many of them are meeting expectations and how many are not in regards to attendance, the job performance? What's the breakdown on those success versus the other?
So our retention rates initially, our very first year, our retention rates were at 100%. When the pandemic started, we dipped a little bit in a couple of areas. Healthcare remains at 100%. Manufacturing, we're at 80%. We lost a few. And construction, we're at 100%. So the attendance has not been the reason that people that we've lost a couple, some of the people in the retention, we lost some people because of family illnesses. Back in Puerto Rico, family members were very sick, were dying. So we lost some of that. We had a couple that they felt it was just not the right fit. But attendance, I would say out of everyone that we've got, attendance has been an issue, I want to say maybe in about 10%. There's been a few that we have talked to that were showing up tardy. And by tardy, maybe it was just a couple minutes, but I don't think that they understood. And what we learned through the culture is in Puerto Rico, they're not quite as, precise on you have to be in your spot, inside the plant, in your department, ready to start before, the clock. That they weren't getting that because that's not the culture or the climate they were coming from. And so those are things, as we identified some of those issues with the supervisor, talked with the candidates, fix that problem. That is something that we address again now early on. Our whole idea of this process improvement early on, when I realized, okay, this is an issue because they're not getting it. We talk with the candidates, during our screening process and explain this is what that means. So when we say you need to be on time for work, we mean you actually need to be there probably 10 minutes before your shift starts because you need to be inside and all that. So we go over those things now. Did that answer your question, especially as far as?
Yeah, absolutely. And then, with the turnkey solution, what's the time frame from when you get someone from the screening to them actually relocating to them after getting some time to be situated to actually working on the floor or at the plant? What's that time frame like?
The time frame really varies a lot. It depends partly on do we have good marketing to start with? Do we have the marketing materials, the types of marketing that we need? It depends on how quickly the employer moves through the hiring process. We have some that move very fast and are very responsive. We have others that are quite slow. So that is some of it. It can take anywhere from, we've done it as quickly as 2 weeks to be able to get people through the hiring process and here. But it can take up to 30 days. Again, just kind of depending on some of those things in the process, how quickly we keep things moving. Do we have housing available? Avance, we pick people up at the airport because we're coordinating the travel, buying the plane tickets. We pick them up at the airport. We need to make sure we have housing for them to come into. And sometimes in some markets, housing is very tight. And so we need to wait a week or something until we have housing available. We do work with our community partners. We keep everyone engaged in communicating in the process to make sure we'll let them know. If we've got a family of 5 coming, I'll send out an email to the area economic developers, community leaders, everyone, hey, we need housing that's going to be appropriate for this family. What you got? And they'll work through their network as well to identify properties that maybe haven't been advertised so that we can find housing for people.
Any additional questions? Chrissy, did you have anything?
No, I think I'm good right now.
Yeah, very informative.
Thank you.
I applaud you for taking action and getting something done about this issue. I mean, a lot of us, as you said, you were in economic development. You have so many workforce conversations until your just head starts to spin, coming up with solutions, but you're actually taking action and making it happen. So I applaud you for that.
We're always trying to find good people and grow our communities. So as you mentioned, it was just a matter of I wanted to see what we could do to find a solution. It's not perfect. There's nothing that's ever perfect. We're working with people, not robots. So there are always going to be nuances. But like I said, we're always trying to make things better. We're trying to find the very best people we can find and match them up with good opportunities. So while this may not be the solution for every company, it is the solution for some. And so I appreciate your taking the time to listen today, and I would be happy to have any follow-up conversations. If you want to get more detailed information, talk through things, please reach out and contact me. We're flying down there this week on Friday. We'll be down for a week talking with more candidates, getting some more things set up. So happy to take a call or email or do a Zoom.
Yeah, good. I hope you have good frequent flyer miles. Are you collecting points?
Yep, absolutely. Looking forward to a little bit of sunny weather and some good food.
Yeah.
Jennifer, this is Erin. I have a quick question for you. You mentioned either being bilingual or potentially needing like more English as a second language, if not for the worker, then maybe for a trailing spouse or something. Have you had any contact with Clinton Community College or Eastern Iowa Community Colleges in our region to know like what types of programs, like what level? Is it just like basic English 101 or, do they actually offer some higher level programs that if people moved into our community, they would have access to that?
I have not talked with your local community colleges, but we do partner with community colleges. We've been working quite a bit with NIAC up in Mason City with the people that have been coming up there because we've been working in that area the longest. And they do an assessment. We keep them looped in with the employer and the director of ESL there. They come in, they do an assessment. They have done some at the plants where they can do an in-person assessment, and then based on their level of fluency and their reading, writing, and speaking, then they'll put them in the appropriate classes. Right now, we're doing a lot of Zoom ESL classes. It's not ideal, but it's what's been working, getting us through. And then, of course, they'll have in-person classes as well. It is up to the individual. We see some want to jump into it immediately. Some need a chance to get settled in the community. There's so much going on. They're getting hit with so many new things in the workplace and just getting settled in that, some need a couple of months just to settle in before they're ready to start classes. But we do see a lot of interest, people wanting to improve their English. They know if they're not fluent, they know that's probably the only thing holding them back to being really, really successful.
Thank you.
And those classes are all offered at no cost, of course. So they get federal funding for those. One other thing I neglected to mention earlier, we are working with our local workforce regional offices as well on some grants. So my time spent with workforce development and economic development, there's some great grants out there, including OJTs, on the job training. So we have started identifying individuals up front that qualify for OJTs, and we help coordinate that. So that provides a great financial benefit to the employer. You can get their, up to half their wages reimbursed to you for up to 6 months for these workers who qualify under that. So that really minimizes, if not eliminates, your financial risk in doing something like this. And so we help coordinate through that process and are utilizing those programs. And our candidates, our partners are happy to see it because we have the good candidates who are motivated, which is what they're looking for as well. So it's really a win-win for everyone.